Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, and today I'm here to talk about Season 2, Episode 3 of Apple TV's Severance, entitled Who is Alive? The title here refers to a plan that Audi Mark undertakes in an attempt to get a message to his innie. It's also loosely tied to my main complaint about this episode, which is how it quickly tosses this burnt retina, who is alive plan aside and hurtles toward a different conclusion. Like, generally speaking, I thought this was another solid episode that offered up some pretty compelling moments, but I had issues this week, starting with how quickly the final few minutes moved. I was really intrigued by whatever Mark and Devin were up to, and I was meant to be intrigued, right? Like, the show really built up to whatever they were doing being significant, like with that mysterious cold open of him counting with that timer while he walked into work. Then we see him working in secret with Devin in the basement, and they're like, no way we can tell Rickon about this shit, man. This is too crazy. And I'm just like, what's going on, right? How is this going to tie in? What are they up to? And then toward the end of the episode, when Mark is in his car with this device and you're starting to piece together what the plan had been this whole time, and everything's coming together and it's making sense in your mind and you're getting it now, Dr. Ragabi, who we met last season, randomly appears out of nowhere and is like, yeah, you can't do that. It won't work. But I can reintegrate you because I'm way better at it now. Oh, and your wife is alive too. And then we're in Mark's basement and it's just happening. And I'm like, whoa, wait, what the fuck? Like, how are we here right now? And like, why did that move so fast? And why even build up to the who is alive contraption, even going so far as to name the episode after it, just to briskly throw it out of the window and hurtle toward an entirely different conclusion? And I can get the idea of wanting to make the audience uncomfortable or to experience like Mark's impulsiveness, like as it pertains to Gemma, like how he could just change his mind at the spur of the moment. But it was just kind of really disappointing for me. Like, it felt like if the plan had been like some kooky thing that he had just randomly came up with, I'd have been cool with them just brushing it off and doing something different. But like I said, like they built up to it. Like it meant something. At least I thought it did. And fuck them for making a wildly interesting show. But I was like really fucking curious what Mark was up to. So for those scenes to have ultimately been pointless, it's kind of disappointing. However, I did like the ending that the hasty throwing away of the Who is Alive plotline led us to. The reintegration scene I thought was pretty interesting. Like, it got my attention right away because the shirt that Mark had on, it seemed to be the same shade of red as the pajamas that he wears in the new opening credits. So I immediately kind of perked up, like thinking that whatever's about to happen was going to be really pivotal. Then I really liked how they visually conveyed the idea of blending these two versions of Mark back together into one version. The questions he was asked, how his responses triggered the wavelengths to merge together. I thought all that was really cool. But to wrap this portion up, I do still have to ask, what was even the point of the Who is Alive portion of the episode? Like, I could even say that the title refers like less to the device, but more to the links that Mark is willing to go to in order to answer that question of who is alive. Like, he saw with his own two eyes what reintegration did to his friend Petey during season 1. But the cold open, the scene with Devin in the basement, like, why did you even film that? Like, I don't know. Maybe it'll make sense to me later. Maybe one of the people who love to tell me how I don't know shit in the comments, like maybe one of you will explain it to me. But now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's talk about the rest of the episode. Hey everybody, I just want to take a small break from this review to talk about the various other ways you can engage with me on other platforms. If you're so inclined, and I understand why you wouldn't, I am an acquired taste, but you can join the Patreon where you can get extra content like retro reviews, where I review old shows and movies to see if they still hold up today, Mike's Musings, where I talk about shows I'm watching that I don't cover on the channel, or Mike's VOD, where you can commission me to watch a show, which I will then review on the channel. And if you want to engage with me and chat with me more directly, I also implore you to join the Discord and follow the Facebook page. I set up channels in the Discord for all of us to discuss the shows I'm reviewing on the channel, and I also drop new videos in there, so this is the easiest platform for me to share to from my phone. The Facebook can be really fun because I sort of live comment on shows I'm watching, often while under the influence, I'm not going to lie. And I'll also share news there, both about television and film, and about myself as well. So if you like my content, you want to be more engaged, you think I'm charming, or you simply want to show support, Feel free to sign up for the Patreon or join the Discord or Facebook today. Links to all platforms are in every video description. Remember to share all my shit to your respective social media platforms. And now back to this review. So the episode opens with this great shot of Cobell seemingly having just been awakened from sleeping in her car on the side of the road. Presuming this is like the next morning after she drove off on Mark at the end of the last episode. And actually, now that I mention it, this is another aspect of the episode that I think took a fairly significant amount of time to do next to nothing. So we get, I think, another scene or two of Cobell before she heads back to the Lumen headquarters to demand that she replace Milkshake. You know, she wants her old job back. Helena says that they can go talk to the board together, which Cobell initially starts to do, but then she gets like spooked for whatever reason and she just bails. So we got a good 3 or 4 scenes with Cobell that only showed us that she wants to have her old job back. Other than that, like, what did those scenes really do for us? Like, I guess they served to raise the question of what spooked her. She looked at that other guy with Helena and responded as if she thought that they were going to put her in the back of the car and kill her. But just like the scenes involving Mark's Who Is Alive plan, these Cobell scenes seem to dedicate a lot of time to doing next to nothing. And before someone says like, oh, it was only 3 minutes, that's not a lot of time. It was, you're so stupid, you don't know shit. It was only 4 scenes. Like, I'm strictly speaking in terms of like relative to the payoff. Like, when I look at the time spent with Cobell in this episode and what we got from it, it just doesn't feel like it was worth it. Like, she's seemingly threatened by Helena. She's interested in a place called Salt's Neck. That seems to be important to her. And I mean, okay, like there's probably like 15 other things on this show that I'm more interested in than that. But I mean, sure, like start that up, I guess. But having said that, I did think the scene with Cobell and Helena was actually a good scene. And I loved when Helena said that Cobell had overestimated her contributions and underestimated her blessings. I thought that was a pretty sick line. But back at Lumen, Mark has begun to figure out, he's begun his plan to figure out what happened to Miss Casey, a.k.a. his Audie's wife, Gemma. He's got flyers drawn up, and Irving is going to take his flyer to O&D, while Mark and Helly are going to go look for that goat room from last season. Dylan tells everyone he's just going to hang back, and he's going to focus on his work. And I think now is a good time to talk about Helly, because I believe I said I was going to talk about Helly in my last video, and I just didn't get around to it, so I want to talk about Helly right now. There's a popular theory going around that I would say does have support within the show. Like, there's evidence to support this theory on the screen. And the theory is, I'm not going to like run off all the evidence. If you Google it, after I say it, you'll be able to find plenty on it. But the theory is essentially that this isn't actually Helly R that's in MDR, but it's Helena Egan going into MDR unsevered, pretending to be Helly R. Now, of course, this raises all sorts of questions, the biggest one being how, but logistical questions. But I think the theory gets some more fuel in this episode. Like, so once everyone splits up, Helly and Mark share probably like the most awkward, like almost kiss in the history of mankind. Like, it's actually a great acting performance from Britt Lauer, because like, how do you even direct that? Like, what is it like? Now I need you to struggle to kiss someone because they think you're a different version of you, but the current version of you doesn't have a relationship with this guy that the other version of you has. Now just show that on your face. Like, that's a lot to ask of an actor. And she fucking did it, man. Like, she fucking nailed it. She almost nailed it too good, because anyone who was on the fence about that theory prior to that scene was definitely swayed in that moment. But from this painfully awkward moment, Helly and Mark head to the goat room, and that same guy's not there, but they find a small door to crawl through that felt very like Willy Wonka, Alice in Wonderland, being John Malkovich kind of vibe to it. But they emerge from that door into what I can only describe as like an indoor field of grassy knolls. I don't know what you call it, but maybe I'm not as high on this episode as I thought I was, because I wasn't a huge fan of the stuff in the goat room either. And here's the thing, and this has been my complaint for the entirety of this video so far. If we had learned something in this scene or in this sequence of scenes, all the same things that I'm indifferent toward now, I'd have probably liked. And I'd have seen it as like cool kind of world building. But all the stuff with like Gwendolyn Christie and all those other weird characters in there, and let us see your belly button, see no pouches. Like, when all that shit results in is them telling Mark and Helly that Miss Casey was cool, and last that they heard that she was retired, aka what everyone else is saying, and aka absolutely nothing of use at all. All of that stuff just feels like weird for the sake of weird, rather than weirdness that's trying to make a point or that's trying to add something of value to the show or to the plot. So it's if we had gotten something from it, I'd have felt a lot better about that. I'd be like, oh, that was weird and quirky, and but like it felt like a waste of time. That was enough. Like we were supposed to just be in awe of like how weird this scene was, and that was all that we were gonna get from it. That was the only intention, was to like be in awe of the weirdness, and that doesn't work for me. Moving on to Irving, he tells Dylan that he thinks the hallway that his Audi has been painting is in their building, and he wants Dylan to come with them to look for it. And this is when we find out that Dylan's gonna hang back. Miss Huang appears. I don't know if she heard this conversation, but she appears in the room, and she asks Dylan to come with her. At O&D, Irving runs into Felicia. That's that old black lady that was aware of how him and Bert felt for each other. And great scene here. You know, they share a wordless hug. Nothing needed to be said in that moment. I thought that was cool. And then later, we return to them, and she's telling Irving nice stories about Bert, including one like how he spent 2 hours on his hair before the first time he went to go visit MDR. And then Irving, in exchange, gives her these drawings that he made of Bert, and accidentally, one of the dark hallway pictures is in there too, which she recognizes as what she calls the exports hall. Exporting what? I don't know. Something to noodle on, but she says that they used to take shipments there themselves, and now they have a guy who does it, and Irving asks if she knows how to get there. So hopefully next week we'll get some answers about Irving's dark hallway drawings, but remains to be seen. And then we have Dylan. He bailed on going with Irving right as, like I said, Miss Huang appears and asks him to follow her. She takes him to what he thinks is going to be the security room, but it's that new family visitation space, which honestly, I thought the visitation space was complete bullshit. And and what I mean was, like, not only did I think that Milkshake was bullshitting Dylan, but even after, like, bullshitting him about even doing the family visitation thing. Like, I thought that was all bullshit, and he was just saying that to convince Dylan to stay. But even after Dylan was there and the wife shows up, I was absolutely certain that that wasn't his real wife. Like, Dylan wouldn't know what his Audi's wife looks like, nor would he feel anything for her. They could post some doctor pictures of him and any woman, trot that woman out and go, here's your wife, and he'd be none the wiser. So I'm like, there's no way that's actually Dylan's wife. But as the show continues to do, it proves that I don't know shit about fuck, and because we see Dylan's Audi and his wife in the outside world, so I guess that really was her. But this was a great scene too. You can tell that his wife, Gretchen, played by the amazing Merritt Weaver, who's never been anything less than great in anything that I've seen her in, is almost trying to figure out how this version of Dylan fits into the version of Dylan that she knows. Like our Dylan is kind, he's highly motivated, he's perceptive, and her Dylan just seems to be like another one of her kids that she has to take care of. And Miss Wong is watching and listening as Gretchen tells Dylan about his Audi life. They have 3 kids, but Dylan's Audi struggles to keep a job because, as the perceptive any Dylan knows or realizes, his Audi is kind of a fuck up. We then have our second awkward romantic interaction of the episode, where she leaves and she tells Dylan that she loves him, and is, what's he supposed to say? Like, okay, cool, lady. But it's such a loaded scene, though, especially when you put it up next to the scene in the outside world at his home. Like, Audi Dylan, he seems like kind of a bum, like not a bum and like a loser, but just someone that is an additional burden on Gretchen, like another one of her kids, rather than someone who's helping her with the kids. I don't want to make kids sound like burdens. I can't. I have 4, but someone that she has to take care of, a responsibility of hers rather than a partner. But he sees that Dylan seems perceptive too. Like, he could tell. I think that he could tell that he's disappointing her, and I may have even sensed a bit of jealousy from him. Like, wouldn't it be an interesting turn of events? Like, if any Dylan like fucked his own wife, would that be cheating? Because, like, from her perspective, because I'll be like, them two don't know each other. Like, even though that she's technically married to like the flesh body version of Dylan. Dylan's and his wife, they don't know each other. Like, I don't know. That's the kind of important questions that this show raises for me. I don't know what y'all watching to think about, but I think about Eddie's fucking their outies wives. Anyway, finally, we have Milkshake, who, in an attempt to be made to feel at home, is give us some blackface ass Egan portraits. And I love this scene too, because I simply can't place like what's not being said here. Like, for starters, I can't gauge Milkshake's reaction. Like I think it's clear that he doesn't like it, but like, is he conflicted about not liking it, or does he hate it and he just knows that he can't visibly show that or audibly show that? And then, like, what's up with Natalie in this scene too? Like, the way she looks at him while he's opening it, and then those awkward, like, but still fine as hell, beautiful, like, forced smiles. I don't know. I don't know how far this show is going to go with, like, the racial subject matter, but I'm definitely curious about where they're going to go with this plot line. But here's the thing, and I think it's probably the major flaw of this episode. This episode set up too much shit. Like, in retrospect, it's kind of like the first 2 episodes were the show's way of kind of like putting a bow on season 1 and setting up season 2. And now episode 3 is really getting the ball rolling on the season 2 plot lines. But I feel like there's just too many balls in the air. It's just juggling too much. Like, I like exploring these characters, like who they are, their lives, both in and outside of Lumen, why they made the decisions that they made to be severed, why they make the decisions that they make while they're at Lumen. I'm not particularly interested in the GOAT room that provided no new information. Let's just list off right now all the things that this episode and this season appear to be laying out. Like, we've got Miss Cobell. What's going on with her and this salt neck place and the breathing tube? Why'd she bail on Helena? You got Helena. What is she up to? Is that her at MDR, or is that actually Heliar? Who knows? We got to figure that out. Where are we going with this racial plot line with Milkshake and these blackface portraits? Marks, he's now been reintegrated. Where is that going to go? Dylan's meeting with his Audi's family. Irving's looking for his hallway, but his Audi is also up to something, because you remember the Audi was on the payphone and Bert was watching. So even the Audi has a separate storyline going. Why is Miss Huang a child? What's up with Natalie? Like, it's so much. And I'm a bit concerned about this show's ability to juggle that much, but I'm also concerned with whether or not I even care about half of those plot lines. Like, some of that stuff I don't even give a shit about. But I don't know. You guys let me know. Am I tripping? Am I being hard on it? I always ask, like, am I tripping? But solid episode, not great, but not bad. But I don't know. Let me know what you thought in the comments. Did you love this episode? Am I tripping? Let me know. And I'll see you guys next week with episode 4. Till then, peace.